good.
They were getting set up when I came down the hill. The traffic folks, the signs were out.
The City Council meeting, City of Issaquah, Washington, is called to order at 7 p.m. And the Council and I invite you to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, if you wish. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The next item on the agenda is called Audience Comments, and it is an opportunity for people to address the City Council on topics that are of interest or concern to them. And I will read the guidelines for public participation. But before I do that, the Council has before it the Mayor's report, and there is an item that I will introduce now with the Council's permission. And that is that there is a modification to the agenda to include an Agenda Bill 6676, consideration to relocate and enhance the skateboard park. And this particular item is for referral to the Council Services and Safety Committee, and it is at the moment placed on the consent agenda. However, if at the time that the Council looks at the consent agenda they wish to speak to the item, then it would be moved to regular business. So I just thought that for those who are present this evening, I would make that announcement that there is that particular agenda bill. Audience comments, the guidelines for public participation is that when you are recognized, we ask that you come over to the lectern and the microphones, and that way you may be seen and heard in council chambers. And you may also be seen and heard on Channel 21, the government access channel, by those people who are viewing the council meeting this evening. And further, we ask that you state your name, your address, and if you wish to emphasize a particular relationship to the city, that you are a resident here, a property owner, a business owner, whatever it is that you would like the council to know additionally about you, please do so at that time. We ask that you limit comments to 5 minutes or fewer, and you will be timed and you will be given notification as the time is running out if that's what's happening. And if you have written comments, we ask that you please submit them to the city clerk, and that way we will be able to give you a written response to them. So with that, I will ask if anyone has signed up for audience comments.
Yes, I have several. Diane Bogg or Bogue, if you can step forward. Okay. Okay.
Hello, I'm Diane Bouguet. I'm the chair of the Issaquah Community Network, as well as a board member of the Drug-Free Community Coalition and Issaquah High School PTSA. I live at 15865 Southeast 58th Street in Bellevue, which is in the Issaquah School District boundaries. First, I want to say thank you to Mayor Frischinger and the City Council for your support for relocating the skate park. And thanks to the Park Bond Citizens Committee for their hard work. We're here to ensure that the community network knows that there is support for relocating the Issaquah skate park. In short, the purpose of a skate park is to support healthy activities and a safe environment for our youth. The current skate park location encourages quite the opposite. Over the past 24 months, the Issaquah Community Network and Drug-Free Community Coalition have been developing strategies for reducing teen alcohol and drug abuse. Both groups consist of representatives from 12 community sectors, including students, parents, businesses, health organizations, faith-based organizations, civic groups, drug counselors, parks and recreation, law enforcement, and others. During the 24 months, problems with the skate park, particularly in relation to teen drug abuse, were brought to our attention repeatedly. In an effort to tackle that problem, we have held a spring clean in April at the skate park and Rainier Trail and gathered 20 bags of garbage. We found beer and alcohol bottles, drug paraphernalia, and syringes. In May, we launched the Rainier Trail Walk-Around program. We now have 25 volunteers pledged to walk the trail at least once each week to bring a responsible adult presence to the area. The Issaquah Community Network, with 16 board members, and the Drug Free Community Coalition, with 40 members, strongly support the relocation of the Issaquah Skate Park for the following reasons. It moves the skate park and students who want to skateboard away from an area known for drugs and other nuisance behaviors. It sends a powerful message to young people that we care about their behavior and the consequences of drug abuse. A new location in a visible, centrally located spot will provide a safe and family-friendly, much-needed recreational outlet for teens. It will provide a strong first step towards additional strategies for reducing and eliminating drug transactions and drug use in the area of 4 schools and the community center. We hope the City Council will find a solution to relocating the skate park, whether it is included in Parks Bond or through some other funding mechanism. The Issaquah Community Network and Drug Free Community Coalition stand ready to provide local and volunteer support for such an effort. Thank you so much for your time and attention to this matter. And I'd like to point out quickly here is a poster that we put together for, this is the Issaquah Park here, and here's the one that is in Sammamish up by their city hall, and it's quite a contrast. So we'd love to see something similar to what they have up in Sammamish. Thank you.
Jerry Blackburn.
How convenient is that? My name's Jerry Blackburn, and I live at 140 Rainier Boulevard South. So 2 blocks down, 4 blocks from the skate park. I'm also a member of the Issaquah Drug Free Community Coalition, and I have a couple different perspectives and interests in the skate park. First, as an educator, I work at Bellevue College and I teach in the chemical dependency counseling program. And I'm in the work I do in terms of prevention. I'm always drawn to the idea of risk and protective factors, where kids need healthy environmental outlets, places to play, places to grow up, places to be safe. And as we've discussed today, our skate park really has lost that capability. It is rarely frequented by kids who want to skate. It is frequented by a lot of kids I work with as a chemical dependency counselor who are struggling and need support. You'll notice when we talked about our activities and the trail walks and stuff, we never talked about taking the trail back, because those kids need a place. They need a place that's safe, and they need to know that adults care about them and that they can get help. And we're working tirelessly as an organization to do that stuff. So that's kind of one perspective. The other perspective I have is as a chemical dependency counselor. A lot of those kids are marginalized. I know that one of the concerns about relocating the skate park and thinking about it critically was, why? Like, so what is, who is going to benefit from that? And unfortunately, a lot of the kids who would benefit don't have access to kind of this. We're very privileged in terms of access to the community center and for pay services, soccer and camps and all that stuff. And the kids who don't are the ones who benefit from that. Not that lots of kids skate. When we look at the picture, there was 20, 30 kids up there skating the day we took that. There was nobody at our skate park. So there's a large quantity of kids who would access that. But I always think about the marginalized groups, the kids who don't have a voice, who need something, because their parents are both working and, they're living, kind of close to paycheck, and they're not getting into soccer camps and Issaquah Community Center events. So they need stuff like that. We also need it in a location that it's providing a healthy place for them to explore. So that's kind of my second perspective. The third is as an Issaquah parent. I have a fabulous 7-year-old at Clark Elementary who has 2 skateboards. And she's filled out one of the petitions because I only go down with her on Saturday mornings, early in the morning, because that's really the only time that she's not hearing profanity and kids smoking and things that really a 7-year-old shouldn't be exposed to. a friend of mine the other day, we ran the trail, and just looking at the group of kids who are struggling down there, the skate park is not conducive to their health in any way, but it could be for a whole host of other kids. So again, as a parent, I want to think of this corridor as growing and expanding, and having the opportunity to provide healthy outlets for our youth. They don't have a lot down here unless they have the money to be at the community center or in other services or over here on a baseball team. So we can make that whole corridor kind of livable. And thank you, Madam Mayor and Council, for your time. I appreciate all your service for our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Paula Phelps, followed by Laura Halter.
My name is Paula Phelps. I live at 27833 Southeast 26th Way, Sammamish, Washington. I am here tonight in the capacity of the Executive Director of High Schools for the Issaquah School District, which I became today. But as of last Friday and the previous 9 years, I have been the principal at Issaquah High School. And I do think that has provided me the opportunity to have the pulse of young people, and we have up to 2,014 through 18-year-olds coming in and out of our doors every year. And I think that I can pretty accurately say most kids view the skate park as a sketchy place. It's a place you go to do drug deals. It's a place you go to meet up if you're going to go fight somewhere. We just, assistant principal is here. He has dealt with many of those issues. And it occurs to me that kids are resourceful, and we all know that. Kids will find what they need to find where they need to find it. But it seems that we could perhaps be more responsible in having at the confluence of a comprehensive high school, an alternative high school, a middle school, an elementary school, and a community center, just providing it for them seems that we can do better. And I wanted to say that as the Issaquah School District will be doing much construction up and down 2nd Avenue for the next few years on Clark Elementary, Issaquah Middle, and Tiger Mountain, it seems like the ideal time to partner with the city in doing something new and good for the kids of Issaquah, where, as you very articulately heard, they can do positive things and positive activities. And so I would urge you to please consider placing high priority on relocation of the skateboard park. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Laura Halter, and I reside at 16869 Southeast 56th Place, Bellevue, Washington, on Cougar Mountain. My children attended the Issaquah School District and are recent graduates. I'm an employee of the Issaquah School District. I am a coach at the Issaquah High School, and I am a swim coach, as you can see. And I'm here to speak to you to encourage you to make as many enhancements and repairs that we can to our community pool, known as Bone Pool. I've also been a master swimmer at Bone Pool for a few years, and I've enjoyed it as a resident of the community as well. I also happen to work for the Issaquah Sockeye Swim Club, so I work with young children also. I'm here in a capacity to enhance your education about the number of kids that I work with through the high school program. You'll later hear from Coach Chris Daughters from Liberty High School as well. I don't know if everybody's familiar, but the pool at Bone is used by all 3 Issaquah School District high schools for their competition, and used by both Liberty and Issaquah High School for their training facility. Very limited number of hours per day, very limited amount of space that we're actually allowed to have. However, all 3 programs, Skyline, Liberty, and Issaquah, can brag that they actually provide a no-cut sport to both the women and the men, and that the numbers for those sports are quite high. I myself, in my programs, I can tell you that I have 110 athletes between the men and the women in a no-cut sport, and we're quite proud of that. We're really pleased that we can provide the opportunity for both men and women to try a high school sport that they know that they will be accepted into, and that they can learn a skill, they can get some exercise, they can make friends, they can become part of their school community, and they also are going to walk away after 4 years with a skill that they can carry for the rest of their life. And as we know, we all live in a community that's surrounded by water, and we hear on the news every day how important it is that we have safety skills as well. And I can tell you that at Bone Pool, at least the high school programs are learning their safety skills, and they're given a skill that they can use for the rest of their life. They're going to be safe swimmers in many environments. I'd also like to explain that I see, when I'm at Bone Pool working, I see that Bone Pool does a fabulous job. The city of Issaquah just does an amazing job with teaching safety skills to the youth. I think they also do a great job of providing opportunities for young people to learn lifeguard training skills, first aid, CPR, those kinds of things. I'm also happen to be an aquatics director in an outdoor facility in the summertime, and I can tell you that most of my staff members between the ages of 15 and 22 have been trained at Bone Pool, and I prefer if they're trained at Bone Pool. They get fabulous instruction there, so I'm really pleased with what they do there. I also, when I'm working there in early mornings with my high school kids, or swimming masters myself, or coaching in the evenings with my younger children for IST, I see the aerobics classes, I see the older people from their community coming in swimming laps, staying healthy well into their 70s and 80s, swimming laps, and remaining part of their community, and I think that Bone provides a really important environment for that as well. So I just want you to really seriously consider making a pool a priority for some spending and some repairs. I think that we need to really step up and make sure that we have this healthy place for our youth, our elderly, our high school kids, and everybody in between. So I appreciate all the time and attention that you plan on spending on this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry. Kayla Flatten, followed by Vivian Knight.
Hi, my name is Kayla Flayton. I'm a resident of Issaquah. My address is 1476 29th Place Northeast, Issaquah, Washington 98029. I am a recent graduate of Issaquah High School, class of 2013, and I have been on the high school girls team all 4 years, in addition to the Issaquah swim team for 9. Between IST and the girls' high school swim team, I'm pretty sure I spend more hours at Bone Pool than I do at my own house. It's basically my home away from home, and has been ever since I joined the swim team. I have loved my team ever since the day I joined. I fell in love with the sport, I fell in love with the program, and I've never considered even going anywhere else. No other public pool in the area is around for us to have our team, and so without this pool, our team really has nowhere to go. We have a very strong program, both on high school and club, and if this pool disappears, we may lose both our club and our high school team. Like Coach Laura said, who is my high school coach, Skyline and Liberty both use Bone Pool for meets, and Liberty also uses it for practices. So if the pool goes away, they also risk losing their sports teams as well. I would really like to continue swimming in schools because I feel like it's a very underappreciated sport almost, and not very well known. And this year alone, we had almost 80 girls on the team, which in one pool is really crowded, but it was really awesome to be able to have everybody there. I want future swimmers of both teams to be able to have the opportunity that I had growing up, to be able to have somewhere to go and swim and have a team to join that's in the area and not have to drive to Bellevue or Federal Way or any of the other places that all the other teams have to drive. Thank you so much for considering renovating Bone Pool.
Thank you.
Vivian Knight, followed by Josie Beck.
Good evening. I am Vivian Knight. My address is 975 Idlewood Drive, Southwest in Issaquah, 98027. Thank you for the opportunity to comment tonight. I am representing tonight Mountain Creek Christian Fellowship, who is pleased to be one of the members on the Drug-Free Community Coalition. And the last time I was in front of this mic speaking to you was on another parks bond where we were debating lacrosse fields versus open space. And both of those are enhancements to our community. And we have an opportunity tonight for a twofer, to fix a problem and enhance our community. So I think we all agree that the current skate park is a problem that needs to be fixed. It's poorly located It's not a healthy place to be. It needs to be moved, and it's a problem that needs to be fixed. We have students on our DFCC committee, and we value the input of those students, and it's also an opportunity for us to mentor to them how to affect positive change in our community. And so, since we're the grown-ups here, does it make sense that we sit by and watch while we acknowledge we know this is a problem? And does it make sense if we don't take advantage of the Parks Fund to be a remedy to this problem? And the other option is to defer it to later, until later, but frankly, we've already taken that option. And let's just decide that later is now. So what I'd like to encourage us to do is to go for that twofer to fix the problem as well as enhance our community.
Thank you.
Josie Beck.
Hello, I'm Josie Beck. I live at 18724 Southeast 45th Place in Issaquah. And I'm here today representing our community in South Sammamish. And I'm representing the community because we're all concerned about the safety of the road there with all the pedestrians and the cyclists and the runners all on a small shoulder by the state park there. And so I just want to respectfully request that the council consider moving this up in the list of priorities for the transportation projects, and also that the design phase get implemented in 2014. I mean, just yesterday I was on this stretch of the road, driving back from the grocery store, and there's cars in front of me, and on the side of me there's a runner, and behind that runner there's a cyclist. And the runner has nowhere to go, and the cyclist needs to merge into traffic in order to go around the runner. And so this really is a safety issue, and I really appreciate that the council look at this and the time it's taken in this matter. Thank you.
Thank you.
Stephanie Morton, who's going to be followed by Carlos Sales.
Good evening. My name is Stephanie Morton. I live at 4221 186th Place, Southeast Issaquah, in the Greenwood Point neighborhood in South Lake Sammamish. I'm here to support the expenditures that are being considered to upgrade and keep the Bohm Pool functioning and safe. I started swimming personally when I was 4 years old. I competed for 12 years. I was a lifeguard in high school. I swam for my high school swim team. My daughter, who is here with me tonight, took swim lessons at the Bohm Pool. She has also been on the Issaquah swim team for 5 years. She will swim at Issaquah High School, having Coach Laura as her coach. And I just want you to know that there are families that take full advantage of this great facility, that it's a public facility, and there's not very many around, as Kayla pointed out. You know, we are kind of an endorphin-seeking community. We spend a lot of time on the water. I mean, if you look at the lake the past couple days, there's a lot of people in the water. This Bohm Pool offers a rare opportunity for lots of people to have access to swim lessons. It doesn't happen when you're in a situation where there's only private facilities. The other thing that I'd like to kind of point out is that water exercise is universally considered by doctors to be one of the best exercises that people can do as they age through life. And I know that a lot of seniors take advantage of the lessons and classes that happen at Bohm Pool as well. So I appreciate your time on this issue. Would strongly support any and all upgrades. I know the kids at the last meeting talked about the filtration system, swimming down the pool and turning their head and getting a mouthful of hair. That one kind of stuck with me, I have to admit. So, you know, there's things that need to be done to this pool to bring it up to date. It's been, I think it's been around since 1972. It needs a bit of a facelift. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Carlos Sales will be followed by Scott Kaczmarek.
Hi there, my name is Carlos Sales, and I live at 23402 Southeast 31st Street in Sammamish, Washington. And I'm here today to lobby the board to advocate for funds for repairing Julius Bone Pool. I have an 11-year-old daughter who swims at IST, and like some of the other people here, she swims there 5 days a week, and sometimes I think she's there more than she is at our house. And obviously a swimming pool is vitally important to a swim team. But really, it's only a small part of what the swimming pool is being used for. I think you've heard from various folks that a swimming pool is a vital asset of the community. I think it needs to be treated as such. You've heard that it provides, you know, access to swim lessons and vital safety, you know, to toddlers. You've got middle schoolers and, you know, high schoolers who are swimming and active. You've got adults who are actively using the pool for lap swimming. And you've got seniors who are using it. I think you'd be hard-pressed to find another facility in the area that is used by such a cross-section of, you know, of the community, and it's used regularly on a daily basis. You go in there and there's, you know, 50, 60, 70 people, kids, adults, you name it, using that facility. So, you know, want to thank you for your support and, you know, again, advocate for funds to keep that pool up and running. Thank you.
Thank you.
Scott Kaczmarek will be followed by Judy Brewer.
Good evening. My name's Scott Kaczmarek, and my address is 25851 Southeast 30th Street in Sammamish, Washington. And I'm here to talk in support of funding Bone Pool repairs and renovations. I'm going to echo a lot of what you've heard tonight, so I'll try to be brief. I'm a board member with the Issaquah swim team, and I have 3 daughters that all 3 learned to swim with swim lessons at Bone Pool. They're all members of Issaquah swim team and all have or will compete for Skyline High School swim team. So, and in addition, I spend time lap swimming with adult lap swim at Bone Pool. So I'm at Bone Pool quite often. And as others have mentioned, whenever I'm there are multitudes of activities going on at Bone Pool. I see senior citizens at water aerobics and therapy. I see lessons for both lifeguards and many, many children taking swim lessons at Bone Pool. I see adults doing fitness and exercise lap swims such as myself. And so it's used by the entire community, and it's valuable not just for competitive swimming. I've been in the sport of swimming for more than 11 years now, and in my time, I've seen a lot of other communities grapple with these issues of funding for pools. And since I've been in the east side, North Shore Pool in Bothell has closed completely. And all the other public pools that I'm aware of, Mary Waite on Mercer Island, Juanita at Juanita High School, and Redmond Pool, all have been turned over to private entities, which is the competitive team. And if you chose a funding to have a partner come in, sometimes that'll take away from the community aspects of it, because Bone's used by the whole community and not just one segment that has an interest to keep it for themselves. And if they have holes in their programming, they'll allow the community come in and use it for that. So I appreciate your guys' consideration of funding the pool. And I'd also like to say that Bone Pool was built in 1972. The population was 1/10 of what it is now. And if you take the Issaquah School District, it's 30 times what it is at that time. Bone Pool has never been expanded, and I think this community would support it if you dreamed big and expanded the pool. Thank you for your support.
Thank you.
Judy Brewer, followed by Fred Nava.
Hi. Hi. My name's Judy Brewer. I am a long-term volunteer within the greater Issaquah community in the schools. I serve on the Issaquah Community Network Board. I was their past chair, and I also serve on the Drug Free Community Coalition. I came here tonight to ask you for some information, which I think that the mayor graciously has already alluded to that I just may get. Frankly, what I wanted to respectfully request is that you keep both the Issaquah Community Network and Drug Free Coalitions in the loop as far as your planning phase, implementation, and also when you look at location. There can be miscommunication, but in the past we have so greatly appreciated all of your support and your knowledge. And working together, we have done a lot of really great things. The other thing I just wanted to add, 20 years ago when the skate park was first created, it was wonderful. It was safe. It was a healthy opportunity for kids with activities. Went along with the community center. And so, frankly, I'm not sure what went wrong, but I can tell you, you had a great idea. It's just, frankly, it's a terrible location. Biggest problem is it's secluded. So I won't say anything more because I think that the pictures that we have to provide for you, plus if you just walk down there, I don't want to belabor it. The next thing that I would like to do is present you with a petition. We began circulating it on noon Friday. Our goal was to get 100 signatures for you with comments if at all possible. Right now we have over 227 and we're still going. We opened the survey to anybody that was interested within the skate park, and we also have a great deal of student participation. I'd like you to know on both the boards we have tremendous student input and we are greatly appreciative of it. And they are the ones that adamantly zeroed in on Drug Row and the skate park. So the kids know, and what we're trying to do is provide that support. So if you don't mind, what I would like to do is read you the background and then the actual petition text. Due to its remote location, the Issaquah Skate Park has become a frequent site for drug trafficking and nuisance behavior. The skate park is old and no longer provides an optimum recreational experience for teens interested in skateboarding. The current site needs to be closed, but we recognize the importance of healthy recreational sports for teens in our community. In addition to closing the current skate park, the city should find a new site for a much improved skate park, one that is highly visible as well as kid and family friendly. The petition text is as follows. We, the undersigned, call on the Issaquah City Council to close the current skate park and to fund and construct a replacement skate park in a more visible, kid and family friendly location. So I have copies for all of you with pictures to compare. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, thanks.
Fred Nava, followed by Ann Moore.
Hi there, my name's Fred Nava. I live at 4367 252nd Place Southeast in Issaquah. Thanks for your time. I've only got a couple points here, and I'll try to be as quick as possible. As you can see, I represent Issaquah swim team. I have two kids, a 15-year-old son who completed his freshman year at Skyline High School where he swam. I have an 8-year-old daughter who's just started her competition swimming with Issaquah swim team. They also swim for a mid-lakes team as well. Even before they started swimming competitively, my wife and I felt that learning how to swim, especially in this area, was super important. So, as soon as they were able, we were signing them up for swim lessons. I can remember several frustrating moments where I had to go to not one, not two, but 3 different places to try and find openings to get my son and my daughter into swim lessons because the demand is very high. You walk at any time, any weeknight almost, you can walk into Bone Pool, and you can just see the both pools completely full with people swimming, with people taking lessons, from babies to senior citizens. They're utilizing it very well. That's my first point. Second point is I grew up in Bellevue, and I wasn't a swimmer. Neither was my wife. I played baseball, basketball, football. So of course, when I have kids, they want to swim, right? Absolutely nothing that they'd rather do. So when they said they wanted to go ahead and join the Issaquah swim team, I said, let's go for it. We need to go ahead and commit. And I tell you, there is nothing that I derive greater pleasure than watching my kids swim, even during practice. Just watching them learn, watching them figure out how to do all the strokes. And, I want to go ahead and make sure that I represent the people that don't even know that swimming is going to be in their future, right? I had no idea, if you asked me 16 years ago, where I'd be going in terms of swim meets, swim practices, West Seattle, Beaverton, Oregon, all over the place. And it's the kind of thing that swimmers do, and we're happy to do it to watch our kids compete. And I want to go ahead and make sure that I represent the families out there that really don't even know that they're going to be in need of this facility. And so please strongly consider, and I encourage you to consider repairing, enhancing, even extending Bone Pool if possible. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ann Moore, followed by Chris Daughters.
Hi, my name is Ann Moore. I live at 6530 155th Avenue Southeast in Bellevue. We are in the Issaquah School District, and as many of you know, I'm on the Issaquah School Board. Just a couple months ago, the Issaquah School Board and the Issaquah City Council had a great linkage meeting where we had the opportunity to talk and share different projects, things that each entity was working on. And the skateboard park relocation was definitely one of the topics that we talked about, and definitely seemed like the general sense was that a relocation of that skateboard park would be very beneficial to Issaquah, to our students, to the kids that like to have a safe place to have some recreation and use the skateboard park. So I would definitely encourage you to make the relocation of the skateboard park a priority. And again, I definitely agree with all that Diane and Paula both said in regard to the reasons behind moving it being beneficial to our kids. But I will add one more, and that's on a very personal note. I have two children that attend high school at Issaquah High School, and one of them is very involved in theater and goes to our wonderful Village Theater for education classes, theater performance. And she walks. She takes advantage of our, very livable area here in Issaquah and walks from the high school to Village Theater. Only she's under strict and absolute orders not to go anywhere near the skateboard park, not to walk through the trails, not to take any shortcuts through there, because everybody knows it's not a very safe place, right? So I would encourage you to make the relocation of the skateboard park a priority so that we can have a safe area for kids to walk and a safe area for kids to have good activities. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chris Daughters, followed by Pam Gross.
Good evening. My name's Chris Daughters. I live at 13802 139th Avenue Southeast in Renton, Washington. My reason for coming tonight is to, yet again, support the renovations of the pool that you're considering. I am the Liberty High School coach, and I also teach at the high school. I've been doing both of those jobs for 16 years. There's a myriad of reasons why the pool should be updated. It's old, it's crowded, swim lessons, learning how to swim in an area where there's a ton of bodies of water. There's a ton of reasons. I'm going to narrow mine down to how it affects my high school students. At Liberty, we have about a little over 1,100 students. We have over 50 girls that swim on the Liberty swim team, and we have over 35 boys regularly from year to year. That amounts to about 8% of the student body that's a part of the swim team. it's a pretty large percentage. The girls' swim team is the largest girls' sport at our school, and the boys' swim team is the third largest sport at our school. Granted, it is a non-cut sport, but we still have a lot of kids that come out for it. One consideration that hasn't come up tonight, especially when Laura was speaking, is that most of the kids who swim on the swim team, on the high school swim team, don't do other high school sports. We don't have a lot of multi-sport athletes that come out for swimming. You do in other sports like football and basketball and, you know, fast pitch and soccer and things like that. We have a lot of kids on our team who just do swimming. And so you're serving, by renovating the pool, you're serving a group of kids and promoting athletic, healthy behavior for their futures in renovating this pool. Excuse me, I'm just looking at my notes. We also, one thing you might not realize is that a lot of the athletes that we serve, they come from all kinds of shapes and sizes and athletic ability. So we have kids that can swim, you know, the 100 free in 2 minutes and 1 second. We have kids that can swim the 100 free in 53 seconds. And everybody has a good time, and everybody learns something from being involved in the sport. One other thing, the pool is in pretty bad shape. You can't move the bulkhead at the pool, and if you could move the bulkhead, you would be able to run things in a more versatile manner at the pool. They do a great job, don't get me wrong, of utilizing every hour at that pool that it's open, and it's very well professionally done and safely done. However, it's gotten so old that there's just things that can't be done at the pool that would make it more versatile. For instance, during our swim practices, since the bulkhead is so old and cannot be moved from one end to the other like it originally could, we cannot use the shallow end during our swim practices. If we could use the shallow end, the first 25 yards, for a swim team, and they used the deep end for the diving tank, we would be able to have those two practices run concurrently, and it would just be a little bit more versatile, and then perhaps the pool would be able to figure out a different schedule for their swim lessons so that we could, you know, make more money for the city. So there's just kind of things like that, and you can't drain the pool all the way, so they can't, you know, clean it in the way that they want to clean it, and those kinds of things. So it's time to update the pool, and thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Pam Gross, followed by Kathy Hosty.
Hello, my name is Pam Gross, and I'm at 27233 Southeast 13th Place in Sammamish, and I have a son that's going to Skyline next year and a daughter who's going to Beaver Lake Middle School next year. And I'm also here representing, you know, people to support Bowen Pool. I have a little bit different take. My daughter has a condition called MPS 4A, and it affects her bones and her joints and her heart and some other organs. But through Issaquah Swim Team, and she has been able to swim as an able-bodied swimmer, and she's also just been classified as a Paralympic swimmer. And this last year, her goal was to make it to one of the National Paralympic swim meets in Minnesota, which she did in February. And huge, she's only 11 years old, and she's about this tall. She's very tiny. And that's one of her syndromes, is she'll be a little person. And the cool part is she got to go experience something that other kids, you know, may or may not ever get to do. She got to go to a national swim meet as 11. She swam with swimmers that went to the Paralympics in London in 2012. She was announced in the finals. She made finals for 4 races. And she got to go up there for 4 races. It was Courtney Gross representing Issaquah Swim Team from Sammamish, Washington, and Issaquah, Washington. Which was huge for her. I mean, here's an 11-year-old. She's smiling. She's so excited to be able to represent her team. She has a big ISD, you know, swimsuit across her front. Everybody else has their speed suits on, or USA, and here she is, proud as can be, with Issaquah Swim Team. And for her, she swims at Bowen. It is her pool. It's the only place really she can swim right now. And her goal is to keep swimming as an able-bodied swimmer and also as a Paralympic swimmer. We just came back last week from Colorado Springs, and she got to do a competition at the Olympic Training Center. I mean, how many kids get to do that? It's huge. Also, along with that, she's been identified as an emerging athletic swimmer for the Paralympics. And one of the things is they ask you, where do you train? And so for us, it is Bowen Pool. I mean, that's where we put. We said, you know, how often could she swim? She could swim every day. If, you know, she's a fish. She would swim 24/7 if she could. And Bowen Pool is what allows her to do that. So I just consider, you know, keep updating it. Let it, you know, there's more swimmers out there. You know, we found out the last 2 years that this was something that was open to her, and that was through, you know, Issaquah Swim Team. We would have never known she even had that opportunity. And now, you know, her goal is that someday she might get to go to the Paralympics someday. So she'd like to do that through Bowen Pool. So please consider it. Thanks.
Thank you.
My name is Kathy Haas. I live at 3021 206th Way Northeast in Sammamish, and I'm here as a member of Issaquah Swim Team. We have been members of the team for over 12 years. I have 2 children. One is 22 and the other is now 9, but we moved here when they were 2 and 9. And we've used different services of the pool over the years. My young one started in parent-taught training, did birthday parties, and you know, so, and then she's gotten into competitive swimming, and now she's swimming in high school, and expect that to continue as well. My older daughter started with the competitive team, but the thing that was special for her is she went through high school and she swam in college. She got the opportunity to swim in college. But for her, she took her lifeguard training. And that was huge for her because she learned a life skill and was able to work in the summers as a lifeguard. She's now worked her way up that she's a head coach for a summer league team up here in the Snoqualmie area. And she coaches in her college. She coaches for a swim team in college. So it's really provided her, it's helped shape who she is as a young adult. And she's going to graduate college next year, and she's going to be a teacher, and she wants to keep coaching. And I really thank BOEM for the services that they provided for particularly her to turn her into who she is. I'm very supportive of the pool. The pool's been around for, thanks for doing the math, Scott, 41 years. And really promote, to do whatever we can to upgrade the pool, expand the pool if we could. But really, it's such a gem for the community, and to have even the renovation that would make it be useful for another 20 to 30 years would just be huge for the community. So. Thank you.
Thank you.
David Beatty, followed by Elizabeth Hall.
Hi, my name is David Beatty. I live in 1793 20th Avenue Northeast, Issaquah Highlands, basically. And I've lived in Issaquah about 6 years. I think of about last four, I've actually paid more attention to some of the things that I have some more experience with or opinions about, and that typically is active transportation or active recreation. So I weigh in on those a few times. And we had another opportunity this last week, I guess it was, to weigh in again on the park bond. And again, I was in another room with full of people, pretty much all similar to this, where most everyone was arguing for active transportation or some sort of active recreation, and then mostly the pool. And my son pretty much does everything that's active. That primarily it's been biking. I started out at skate park a while ago, and you know, I personally think it's all good. The thing that gets me out the most is when I feel like it's just not evenly weighted. You know, it seems like passive parks and green spaces are kind of on automatic, you know, like automatic approval. And you fill rooms with people arguing for some sort of active recreation, and it seems like to be the toughest sell. And that brings me out and gets me going. So, and you know, I guess I have a fair amount of experience in the skate parks. So, you know, and thanks to my son, I've never did a skate park as a kid. I wasn't that keen on it initially, but when you have one that's like Sammamish's skate park, it's you the kids try. I really encourage, people to go, especially park board people, to go see all these activities in person. There's nothing that really replaces that. But in general, in the skate park, the one thing I like about it is that the Smash Skate Park and others like it is you can hang out some, but if you hang out too much, you're just going to lose your credibility. You have to learn tricks. You have to do tricks. You have to, otherwise you're just like, well, and they help each other. And older kids, at least what I've seen, older kids have helped younger kids, and I like that aspect of it. I don't like the aspect that it's a little dangerous. There's no getting around that sometimes. Same with mountain biking, but same with most, a lot of other sports as well, except swimming and running, which I'd be more than happy to have my son do that next. I did happen, it does get me when the other thing that kind of gets me is when I keep seeing the, put out, I guess mostly in the press, that there is no interest in skate parks or really in active recreation in general, or like there seems to not be enough to ever reach a critical mass so we can ever have it, on a park bond or whatever reason. And it's like, I just feel like, really? We're really that much different than some Amish people? And I just, there was an article I looked online that said, from the Seattle Times, it says, "New Sammamish Skate Park is an unqualified hit," is the title. And I feel like we're not that different here. It would be an unqualified hit if we had a good skate park here too. Or pool. And it's funny, even from that, we did go to the Brown Pool and just, a lot of times we so often encounter just really crowded facilities. The pool here wasn't crazy crowded, so we joined Pine Lake Club.
One minute remaining.
Okay, thank you. And then that was good, but then we joined Pro Sports Club in technically Bellevue, but that place is amazing. It's just way far away. But they have 5 pools, and on the weekends they have it like a family time, and it's just crazy busy. And I just feel like that's the way, with the building boom that we have up in the Highlands, not to have more opportunities coming along the pipe just seems like a really mismatch. Thank you.
Thank you.
Elizabeth Hall, followed by Rowan Hine.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Hall. You're getting a 1-2 punch from the Beatty Hall family tonight. Thanks for your patience with us. I'm a property owner, 1793 28th Avenue Northeast in Issaquah Highlands. And I thought I would just add to my husband's comments by telling you a little bit about the evolution of our family activities. We went to the Issaquah Skate Park once. We were horrified and have not brought our son back there since. But we did find the Sammamish Skate Park, and that was a great place for us to go as a family. We wound up going on Wednesday evenings during the farmers market. We'd have dinner there. Spencer could ride his scooter. He could be active and be entertained. We'd have dinner, reconnect as a couple, do a little shopping. It was a great Wednesday night. We've moved on to mountain biking. We're at Duthie Hill Park virtually every weekend. Spencer just did a camp there last week. We were there yesterday, reconnected with a lot of families, met some other people. It was a very social time. So all of these things are active sports that we're taking advantage of. In fact, Spencer is having an introverted moment, is sitting right over on the side with his lacrosse stick. So you can get a sense of the kind of interests we have in our family. So we're fully supportive of active mountain biking trails that are unidirectional, easy for everyone to take advantage of. A great skate park that is not horrifying for families to participate in. As well as lacrosse fields, and we'd also really enjoy the renovated pool. It's fun to drive to Pro Sports Club and pay a lot of money to participate there. It'd be great to have a local pool that we felt as excited about. Thank you very much.
And last on the list is Rowan Hines.
Good evening.
My name is Rowan Hines. I am a resident of Issaquah. My address is 1571 Sycamore Drive here in Issaquah. And as most of you are aware, I used to sit up there. When I left there, I made a point of not coming down too often to bother you with my ideas, but tonight there is something on your agenda that I think is very important, and I wanted to bother you with it. But before I get there, I would like to comment that during my time on the dais, I believe the city was the first to step up and take over a King County forward thrust pool. And I think it's been very successful. Right, Ann? Yes. And I'm very proud of that. So I hope we have a long history, and I hope we're able to continue that. I would also like to start by sharing a little history. I don't know how many of you were here in the 1970s. I could probably count on one hand. But in the middle 70s, the gravel pits, Lakeside and Cadman, wanted to increase their capacity and do some development. They needed water. They came to the city and petitioned for water service. In order to do that, they had annexed to the city. The city at that time chose, for several reasons I'm not particularly familiar with, not to do that. And so they sat there until the Water District 82, which is now Sammamish Plateau Water and Sewer District, drilled their first well down next to the Meadow Creek Office Park. And when they did that, they had to run a pipeline up the hill. Well, it went past the gravel pits, and they told the gravel pits, if you will pay for the pipe in front of your properties, we will provide the water. Well, when the city heard that, we said, wait a minute, we're the water purveyor, not the water district. I was appointed to this council in October 1979. That first month on the council, I vividly remember sitting in downtown Seattle as the city petitioned before the Boundary Review Board to provide the water to the gravel pits. We were not successful, and they say the rest is history. The gravel pits did not annex until after I finished my time in the late 90s, completely developed in the county, and I would submit that that was not to the city's benefit. So I use that because what you have before you shortly is the Klahani annexation. And I was on that committee and was pleased to be on that committee, and the finances are a positive wash. Okay, if you take the road out, the Issaquah Falls City Road, that's another issue that will be developed at some point in the future. I don't think that's really germane to the annexation issue at this point. But the people that live in that area, all of them have Issaquah addresses. A good share of them probably think they already are residents of Issaquah because they drive down here every day, they shop down here, they drive through us, and they have our address. Okay? And I think it's important that we take advantage of that. They're a tremendous resource for the city and for the community, and I think they should be part of us. And last, I would like to leave you with is the Sammamish Plateau and the city of Sammamish are basically landlocked, transportation-wise.
1 minute remaining.
They have Redmond on the north, Issaquah to the south. And if you let the Klahani annexation go to Sammamish, they will forever be part of our problem. If we annex them into the city, they will be forever part of our solution to that problem. So I hope you don't make another decision like we did back in the 1970s. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there other speakers who have signed up? Are there people present who wish to speak who didn't have an opportunity to sign up? Yes, ma'am.
My name's Wilma Taylor, and I just want to talk about the pool from the point of view of the seniors. So I urge you to support renovation of the Bowen Pool. and the seniors love the pool. We have water aerobics classes in the daytime and arthritis classes in the daytime. They're full of seniors.
Could you use the microphone, please?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
We have classes that are full of seniors, both the water aerobics class and the arthritis class. In the water aerobics class, I have a friend who's 84 years old. She walks with a walker, and really swimming is the only fitness exercise she can participate in. She is at that pool 5 days a week. I'm getting nervous. And then in the arthritis class, we have a member who is 92 years old. Can you imagine? She can't hear the directions too well, but she can see what the instructor's doing. So I hope that you will bear in mind that there's a big population of seniors who really rely on this pool, and it's the only park and rec issue that they're interested in, because it's really the only one they can participate in at that age. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's see. Yes, sir, and then ma'am.
My name is Derek Hines. I live at 4317 Southeast Issaquah Pine Lake Road, Sammamish. And as Paula Phelps mentioned, I'm the assistant principal here from IHS. And I just couldn't leave without saying that what's happening down at the skate park, and I know a lot of people are very familiar with it, but in my role as assistant principal, I'm very familiar with the skate park. I deal with it weekly, if not daily. And I just have to say that it's, in my estimation, it's not what's typical of trails or skate parks or outlying areas of other high schools. What's going on there right now is very pressing. We're talking about a high incidence of heroin and a lot of violence. The level of violence is very concerning as well. I drive by on my way home every day, and it's still going on as late as I'm at school, and often that's about 5 o'clock. And it's very concerning. I wouldn't want my daughter or my wife walking through there at any time. And there's not a lot of skating going on. In fact, I don't recall seeing any skating in the last few months. So, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Catherine Sedgwick. I live at 4425 Issaquah Pine Lake Road in Sammamish. I'm the rector of St. Michael's Episcopal Church, which is right across the street from the skate park. I've had the advantage of talking to the high school kids who walk through the property and down the street and gotten to know them. I talk mostly to the ones who've gone all the way around the block to avoid walking past the skate park. And I've also talked to the dealers who hang out at the skate park, and I promised the police I wouldn't do that anymore. What I'm finding is we don't need to just move the problem on. We need to kind of look at how we can fix it. And so we're trying to be part of the solution. But as long as there's a reasonable draw to have a skate park there, kids can hang out there without even skating, there's no way to really clean it out and get to it. We're trying to clean out the woods around St. Michael's so that it's less attractive to hang out. We've had the same kind of problems with containers for alcohol, trash, drug paraphernalia in our woods. So as we try to clean that out, it would be great if we had the same effort going on across the street so that we're working on the solution together, not just kind of pushing the problem back and forth across the street. So I know there are a lot of ways to fund that, but we really need to look at putting one of them through, whether it's in the city budget or through this bond or what, but there's got to be a way to do it. Thanks.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Paul Jajic, and I live at 267 Northeast Birch Street, about 2 blocks over here. I'm a delighted downtown resident, and one of the reasons I'm delighted is I walk it a lot, about twice a day. Once at least, I'm walking my route, and I go up that trail. I didn't realize what I was taking my life in my hands with. It actually is a pretty interesting culture. First, before I go into that, I'd like to thank you, Madam Mayor, I heard your announcement on the consent calendar. I don't know what it is. It sounds good, and consent calendar sounds really good. So, please. 2 points. Between the parking lot and I'd say a little bit past the skate park, where there's a walking trail that's been made through the woods. That stretch has a very interesting culture that has been evolving, and it evolves different times of day or different times of year. I have been warmly greeted. I have been almost sought out to talk with. I have walked past groups that kind of barely made their way for me to walk past. I've been walked past, and I and they were glad when I got past. I have smelled all kinds of stuff, seen all kinds of stuff. It's a very interesting culture. I would say what I've noticed lately is that the parking lot is a pretty interesting thing in the evening now. The last 2 evenings I've walked, and there's a couple of pickup trucks that are parked. 2 nights ago, I noticed that there was a nice big sofa couch in the back of one of the trucks, and a young man was sitting there, and people were gathered around, sitting and whatever, and cars did come and go into the parking lot. Last night, it was actually on the sidewalk, and he was sitting in it, and people. So there is something going on there. I'd say that often now when I walk past, the skate park looks like a deserted building on a street that's in decline. That's the feel that it has. So, and that's not a good signal about anything. Final point I'd like to make is that 15 years ago, I had 2 sons that lived with me, and one of the things I loved about living downtown was I could let them go. Ride your bikes, come back in an hour, and that was a chance for them to build some try out their wings, to build some confidence on my part of you can be out there and do things, try things out. I felt really good about that, even with all the traffic and all that. I wouldn't do that now. And I and my sons would lose the opportunity that provided for them to be experiencing their community. I still trust them. We'd have a fight over whether you could go there. So I support very much moving the skate park, but I'd also say that I'd encourage you to continue a discussion with the community network and the Drug-Free Schools Community Task Force Coalition on that culture of the trail and what we do about the culture of the trail. And I agree not to take it back. I don't like that metaphor, but convert it into something. Those kids are part of the community too, but it's right now not what we want as a community. So, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Tim Baines, and I live at 860 4th Avenue Northeast, Issaquah, Washington, 98029. My perspective on the whole issue is a little bit different. As a student at Clark Elementary School, Issaquah Middle School, Issaquah High School, and now beginning my 6th year back teaching and working and doing different roles at Issaquah High School, I'm not just a lifelong Issaquah resident, but I'm pretty much a lifelong 2nd Avenue resident as well. I started middle school the same year that the skate park opened. And I remember very clearly the throngs of kids that would run down from school, from the high schools, from the Tiger Mountain High School, from my middle school to the skate park. I was the kid who ran very quickly by them all because I was a little bit nervous and a little bit skinnier than all those guys. But later on, I continued racing by there as fast as I possibly could as then the condition of the skate park deteriorated as I was running cross-country and track throughout my school experience and just kind of watching things from afar. Having watched things from afar, both as a student and now as a teacher over the last 6 years, I've had an opportunity to kind of see how the condition of the park has deteriorated, and I really believe that the behaviors of students that we've seen have deteriorated kind of in tandem with that. Somebody mentioned earlier they don't see very much skating, and Derek was saying that earlier. You don't see very much skating going on at the park these days. Well, I was reading articles today as I was preparing something to say, and I was seeing all these articles about people in the 90s, in 1997, in 1998, in 1999, training at Issaquah Skate Park. Apparently somebody won a gold medal at X Games last week who's from Issaquah and called the Issaquah Skate Park his home way back in the 90s and early 2000s. So, I mean, there was something cool. There was something really special about that. But I think as the condition of that park has deteriorated, the behavior of our students has deteriorated there as well. I think those two reflect each other. I believe that adolescents who use the park feel that its current state, its location, and the way that we maintain it accurately represents how our community views their particular student group, their themselves. And I believe that they feel that they are not worth the time, not worth the energy, not worth the resources, and that they're best kept out of sight and out of mind, just like their skate park. So what I would like to ask us to do as a community, and you guys to do as a city council, is to show them that we could not feel any different. We could not feel any more different about them. that we want to embrace them, that we want to give them something cool. We've built some amazing parks. I take more advantage of Central Park than I do the skate park, and than I ever will at the skate park. And I don't think my son will even ever go to the skate park because I'm just scared of those broken bones and everything you were talking about there. We did just get back from swimming lessons, which is why I'm a little bit wet, though, and they were great at the bone pool. So 2 points for that, too. But that all said, what I want to say is let's do something cool for those kids. Let's do something neat. They don't have the parent associations that are there. They don't have the leagues. They don't have a club that's there to represent them. They're there to advocate for their needs. And so let's do something really cool for that park. Let's do something really cool for that facility. I think we should close that facility. I think we should do something neat with it. And I think we should find a new way to highlight that particular population of students, that particular population of kids, and to grow and establish them and give them something special, and then continue to invest in that resource over the years. I think we did that back in 1997. We had something really special when we put in the community center, when we put in that skate park there. And I'd like to see us invest in something new that we can continue to invest in over the years. And then on a second point, what I was reading in the Issaquah Press last week about not having enough parent support to make this something that would really be valuable in passing in the upcoming fall parks bond. I was at a PTA meeting earlier this year, and I think somebody else probably spoke about this earlier, but I was over at swim lessons. But they were saying, when I was at the PTA meeting, we were talking about the different things that are going on, behaviors that are ongoing at the skate park over the recent months and over the recent years. And Officer Karen Y. with our school SRO and officer at the police department here was talking about these behaviors and things they see and just how it's impossible to be there patrolling all the time. And even today, as I read newspaper articles, you have students have people at different ends that they can signal a cue that somebody is coming on there, they need to stop what they're doing and all flee. And Karen has mentioned how people do just that. Now, when Karen announced at that meeting that one of the goals of your council was to do something new with that park over the upcoming year, you couldn't have seen a more excited group of people with that news. They were positive, they were optimistic, and they were excited. Now, that was a room of 60 people representing over 1,000 people. So as you guys propose this and talk about this not having the support that needs to pass, I think that's just incorrect. I think if you put it out there, it will definitely pass, and I'm excited to see that happen. So for our kids and for the future, and to stand up and advocate for a group of kids that don't have a lot of advocates. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? Yes, sir.
Good evening, David Kapler, 255 Southeast Andrews Street, so I'm real close to the skateboard park and the trail. I've dealt with the trail for years, pulling book bags out of the creek, dealing with homeless camps. Over there, pick and shovel, reducing the berm below the middle school fence so they couldn't hide so easily down at the fire pit there. In most of the time I walk there now, nobody's using the skateboard park, but there's lots of people just south of it. Getting rid of the skateboard park is a good thing, but it's not going to solve the problem. I expect the problem is going to move to a nice sheltered place where they can sit more comfortably, and the picnic shelter over in Confluence Park. But because it's not that tied to the school, because they're going there all summer in that place. They're going to be looking for a place where they can, a little more distance from the police and the rest, to some of that going on. But whether it's worth $350,000 to build a skate park here, or that $350,000 could go into playfield enhancements, better drainage towards turf, the artificial turf, is a question. I know, being on the Parks Committee, citizens were concerned that a skateboard park on the bond mentioned as part of the bond issue could be a killer for people and actually lead to defeat. So that's something you need to figure out, or how it's told is going to be very important, because there's so many bad connections with the skateboard park right now in the community. My other topic I wanted to really speak more to was the Klahani issue. I listened last week to the Committee of the Whole meeting, and the subject was sustainability. And sustainability was talked about as something we're looking into the future for 2050. And I think the annexation of Klahani is something that should be looked at for a long-term situation. Does it make sense for the city of Issaquah to annex that area, or is it more logical for that urban area, which should be in a city, should have been a city a long time ago, be part of the Sammamish? I think it's one of the things mentioned is the sustainability issue, and the sounding board looked at was green compact development. Well, green compact cities make a lot of sense as well. And if you look at a map, that Kalani piece is a long ways from the existing city, and it's the nice southeast corner of the city of Sammamish. Having that part of Sammamish would make Sammamish more sustainable and Issaquah more sustainable because they'd both be more efficient. We're going to be sending park people up there. A lot of their time is going to be spent on windshield time in their truck, increasing our carbon footprint, not doing park work, but going there. Same with the public works people that are going to be transporting a long distance to there, where they're literally, Kalani is across the street from 3 miles of Sammamish. So it'd be better for both cities long term that Kalani is part of Sammamish. Issaquah can make it work financially, but I think we have better uses for our extra money. And maybe a skateboard park is one of those, and actually done in a place where it would really work. The $66,000 in the study for parks is a joke. Could you imagine when this city had 10,000 people that you're going to spend $66,000 on parks? The $1 million for police is not a joke. It's a serious understatement of the police needs. It would cause reduction of service for the existing residents and provide inadequate service up there. It would also present a real reduction in the our police officers' safety and the desirability to work in Issaquah, where they usually have good access to backups. And you'll see that anytime you see police activity, they take care of each other. They're not going to have that kind of staffing if they have to go all the way up into Kalani, especially in the nighttime when something could be happening down here. City's boundaries not real great and consolidated now, but Greenwood Point needed to come into the city, and we got a lot of because Bellevue was not a logical the logical city to assume the Greenwood Point area. We got a lot of topography in that complicates our city, but Kalani has a great home in Sammamish, and that's where it should go. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak this evening? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Danielle Githens. I live at 2186 Northwest Far Country Lane, and that's in Tallis. And I am also the chair of the Park Board and chaired the Citizens Advisory Committee for the Park Bond Measure. So that's what I'm here today to speak about. To recommend that you look at the recommendations that came out of that Citizens Advisory Committee and then the Park Board, primarily to enhance or to repair the pool, put money aside for open space acquisition, field improvements, continue to fund improvements to Confluence Park, and enhance a couple of the neighborhood parks. I think that was reflected. Those were the primary items that came out of all the public input, the phone survey from last summer, input both orally at our public input meeting and online in the survey, and that we've received in Park Board meetings. That said, so I'm fully supportive, and our Park Board was fully supportive of the items that are on your list to fund. That said, there's a few things that I also wanted to communicate. One was the pool. We heard like fabulous community input about the pool. But what doesn't come out, what hasn't come out tonight and doesn't come out in our recommendations is that the pool has a capacity issue. And came out a little bit tonight, but this $5 million that would be allocated to the pool will not address that issue at all. The $5 million gets us the A option in our pool survey from a number of years ago. The community, what we really wanted was to the B plus option, I think was the favored, which was to fix the existing pool, but convert that to a warm water kind of leisure type pool for swim lessons, and then build another facility next to the pool. So that option would cost $21 million, which is not what we're talking about for this park bond. So I just want to reiterate that there's a lot of community support for that increased capacity. It's not going to be addressed by this park bond measure, so I want to encourage you and the city to continue to try to seek alternatives for funding that, whether that be with the school district or some other kind of King County coalition. It's important, I think, for our community. The second thing was a skateboard park. You'll notice that wasn't on our list. I believe in all the public input that we received, we got one comment supporting the skate park. We know that the existing skate park is an issue. There's not universal support, though, to build a new one, at least on our board, and we didn't hear that. That was something that did not come out in our public input and didn't resonate with our committee. So I would be very cautious in amending the recommendations to add the skate park. I know it's a goal of yours, and I know there's community support for it, and it seems like we're a big enough community to be able to, to have a skate park for our kids. But we need to be really careful about where it's located, and my concern is that if we don't know where it's located and we put it on the park bond measure, we may not we may be putting something on the park bond that we can't accomplish, and then we'll have to answer to our voters as to why you didn't use this money that was allocated for a skate park, or we do it just to allocate just so that we're spending that money and we put it in a bad location. So I just want to make sure that when we talk about putting a skateboard park or replacing one, that we know what we're doing. And then the third thing that I wanted to mention was the green necklace. So the green necklace is part of the Central Issaquah plan. We need to fund it somehow. It's going to be critical. And I think our recommendations was to put $2 million towards open space acquisition. Our thoughts is that that's probably mostly going to have to be used for that green necklace at this point. It's just seed money. Like, hopefully we can leverage that with grants as we have in the past. We've been very successful. But it's probably not going to be enough. So I just want to make sure that that's also on your radar, that we need more money for that green necklace. We can't think that this $2 million that would be on the park bond is going to be sufficient. So I think that that's it. So thank you very much, and I hope you do move forward with the park bond this fall. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak during audience comments? Second call. Anyone who hasn't had an opportunity who wishes to speak? Third call. Anyone who wishes to speak who has not had an opportunity? All right, hearing and seeing no one else who wishes to speak during audience comments are closed. And the next item on the agenda are committee reports and regional reports. And I will start with Councilmember Faulkner.
Thank you. The Council Infrastructure Committee meeting is scheduled for July 18th, which is a week later than our usual meeting, at 5:30 in the Pickering Room. On the agenda currently are Agenda Bill 6670, application submittal for East Lake Sammamish Parkway Improvement Project, Agenda Bill 6657, the Route 269 Transit Now Partnership, report on Community Sustainability Fund, and also an update on the bike pedestrian plan. There's also a very, very preliminary discussion that we may have a special CIC meeting for Monday the 8th, before our council work session. More information will be put out on the website as soon as that's developed. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Councilmember Goodman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Land and Shore will meet next Tuesday, July 9th, 5 p.m. here in council chambers. And on our agenda is continued discussion on Swedish Development Agreement. Agenda Bill 6667, transfer of development rights, proposed code changes. We had initially thought that would be coming forward this month, but there have been some new questions, and so it's back before the committee for some continued discussion, and there's scheduled to be action. Don't know if that will happen. Agenda Bill 6671 is on the consent agenda tonight. That's referring to the Kalani annexation, and assuming the consent agenda passes, that will be part of our agenda. We also have Agenda Bill 6668, amending land use and engineering fees and municipal code Title III, and that is, I'm not positive that's on the consent agenda tonight, but that's also part of our agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Martz.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I don't have a report, but I just want to say thank you to my fellow council members in the city administration who did such a great job of allowing me to recuperate from my recent back surgery and kept me apprised of important information. And I'll just point out that we are lucky to have a really great medicine turn-in program. So I was able to get rid of all my various back medications, the police from 9 till 5 every day. If you bring your medicines in a clear plastic bag, we'll dispose of them for you so you don't have to worry about them winding up at the skate park. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Councilmember Scher?
No report, thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Barber?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Services and Safety is scheduled for July 4th, but since no one will attend with me, we will be looking out perhaps to the 11th or the 18th, and I'll discuss with council committee members, and we will have that posted hopefully tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Winterstein?
No report.
Councilmember Butler?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The next council work session is scheduled for July 8th at 6:30. It's part 2 of our financial review and workshop, and that concludes my report.
Thank you. Under the mayor's report, I'll once again note that there is the opportunity, there is an agenda bill that has been brought forward, Agenda Bill 6676, consideration to relocate and enhance the skateboard park, and that is on the consent calendar for referral to Services and Safety. However, if any council members wish to speak to the item, it can be heard under regular business. And so when we get to the consent calendar, that's an opportunity for council members to indicate where they wish to have this placed. Next item, there will not be an executive session meeting this evening. Third one, Concerts on the Green will be returning for this summer, starting on July 9th, and the concerts run from 7 to 8:30 p.m. every Tuesday evening through August 27th. And they are presented by the City of Issaquah Parks and Recreation, our department, our Arts Commission, and in collaboration with the Kiwanis Club of Issaquah. Next item, good old-fashioned fun on Thursday, July 4th for the down-home 4th of July celebration and Heritage Days festivities. And after the kids, Pets and Parade at 11 o'clock, you can head over to Veterans Memorial Park across the street for more family fun, and the festivities there will last until 2 p.m. For more information, please go to our website, which is issaquah.gov. So, it's that one. Earlier, it says this month, but I believe it was previously that we were awarded a 2013 Vision 2040 award from the Puget Sound Regional Council, and we received the framed award earlier this month, or earlier last month actually, in recognition for promoting a livable region by helping to implement Vision 2040, the Regional Growth Management, Economic, and Transportation Strategy. And that particular award was for our partnership with the YWCA Family Village. The next item, Washington State Parks is taking public input on a project that would remove dead and dying trees at Squawk Mountain State Park. The trees are dying due to root rot, and they create a safety concern for visitors. Public comments on this project can be submitted until July 16th of this year, and more information is available on our website. You may also go to the State Parks website, I would imagine, provide information. So, next item, I will ask the council if accounts payables and payroll have been reviewed.
Yes.
Okay. And then I will ask the council's pleasure on the consent calendar. Councilmember Mertz.
I'd like to move Agenda Bill 6676 to regular business.
All right. So that will be item B of regular business. Okay. Is the council ready to act upon the consent calendar as amended? Councilmember Butler.
I would move approval of the consent calendar as amended.
Second.
Okay, moved by Butler, seconded by Winterstein. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. The next item come before the council this evening is Agenda Bill 6579, Parks, Recreation, Pool, and Natural Area Park Bond Survey and Recommendation.
Madam Mayor, if I can, I would like to first read through some of the agenda bill information that we have before us this evening in regards to the process that's gone through. And I know the Parks Department is also here this evening with a presentation and the ability to answer questions that we will have. So if I could start us off by, excuse my reading through this, but I think there's some important information in here that perhaps those at home would like to hear. And I know there was some information I was new to me. So City Council directed administration to consider funding options for parks-related facilities and projects. They contacted EMC Research to perform a telephone survey to assess the attitude and priorities of parks, open space, recreation facilities, and the renovation of the pool. EMC Research performed the statistically valid telephone survey in June of 2012. The telephone survey was conducted in 2 tiers. The first was to survey the Issaquah School District residents for their support in the renovation of the pool, and the second aspect was to survey Issaquah residents to determine their support for the Conservation Finance Parks Bond for new park development, recreation facilities, natural open space acquisition, renovation of the pool. The EMC Research has noted that the city residents are broadly supportive of making additional investments in Issaquah parks, facilities, natural area, and the pool. The EMC Research also indicated that the following issues were extremely important or very important to the city residents: protecting wildlife habitat, preserving open space, such as our forested creeksides and wetlands, acquiring and protecting land around creeks and streams, repairing Julius Bohm Pool to make sure that it is up to date and meets safety requirements, improving walking, hiking, biking, and renovating some small neighborhood parks to replace playgrounds and park furniture. The research and survey showed that the city residents were broadly supportive of placing a park bond measure on the ballot, providing the funding for the open space parks and pool renovation. A couple of updates that we had in the city as different committees met, and there are 3 of them. So update 1 is as at July 16th, again on 2012, the council meeting, the EMC Research provided a presentation of their findings on the park bond telephone survey conducted in June. The council requested that EMC Research provide an update presentation on the Parks Board survey to the Committee of the Whole on July 24th. We next, on March 11th, 2013, City Council Services and Safety Committee met. The committee discussed Agenda Bill 6579, reviewing projects to be placed on the bond, which is considered to be our Exhibit 1A, and estimate the issue amount of the levy rate. The committee recommendation was for council to move forward with the park bond, to direct administration to prepare a resolution incorporating council priorities and prefer park bond allocations, and to place Agenda Bill 6579 under regular business on the April 1, 2013 council meeting with a presentation by Parks and Rec. Then on May 13th, Council Committee work session reviewed Agenda Bill 6579, again with staff members from EMC reviewing for us the telephone survey conducted in July of 12. City staff provided an update PowerPoint presentation and after review, the council made the following recommendations. Authorize the mayor to appoint a citizens advisory committee to host public input meetings and to obtain additional public input regarding the possible parks bond for the November 2013 election. We were also asked for the Citizen Advisory Committee would provide a recommendation to the Park Board. The Park Board would review public input and recommend recommendations from CAC and provide recommendations to the mayor. Due to time sensitivity, the mayor would provide recommendations directly back to the City Council this evening for the Council's meeting in July. Council also recommended the use of outreach via city website to obtain additional public input regarding possible park bond. On June 17th, the City Council, the Citizens Advisory Board, consisting of 17 representatives from various nonprofit organizations throughout Issaquah, hosted a public input open house at Pickering Barn to obtain public input regarding the potential items for the possible park bond. This was attended by about 80 to 100 people, and there was over 30 people that spoke that evening. The city hosted also an online public input survey, and this gathered about 280 different responses, some of them in writing, and provided suggestions for items for the possible park bond. Some citizens provided input in writing through traditional methods, and others were placed in boxes throughout the community at the community center, the pool, and the senior center. So on June 20th, the Citizens Advisory Committee met again to review the EMC phone survey and the city's online input material and the input from those attending our public meetings. After review and discussion, the Citizens Advisory Committee provided a recommendation of key elements that rose to the top of the public's preference for the park bond and for their review. On June 24th, the Park Board met at City Hall in council chambers in a televised meeting and reviewed the recommendations from the Citizens Advisory Committee. After much discussion, review of the public input, and questions of staff, the Park Board presented their recommendations to the mayor, which is attached in our Exhibit A1. I'll quickly read through those. You can see we've gone through quite a process getting to tonight's hopeful vote. So on the park bond, if it moves forward, would be $5 million for the pool, $1.55 million for Central Park Pad 1 artificial turf and sports lighting, $200,000 for improvements to field drainage at Tibbetts Valley Park. This would be for fields 1, 2, and 5, and also for the community center green, which hosts the concerts on the green, and oftentimes, probably not this year, but oftentimes is a little wet at the beginning of the year. There's $2 million for acquisition of open space for the Green Necklace, $900,000 for Confluence Park Phase 2, $100,000 apiece for Merewood and Gibson Park playground replacement, and $150,000 for the bond and attorney fees. I am sure the Parks Board, the Parks Department has a presentation for us, but for us to be able to begin some discussion, I would like to go ahead with the motion first, if I could, Madam Mayor. I would like to support the allocation of the Conservation Finance Park Bond funding in the amount of $10 million and direct administration to prepare an ordinance resolution for setting a special election, which would also incorporate Council's priorities and preferred Conservation Finance Park Bond allocations.
Second.
Moved by Barber, seconded by Butler. Council discussion and consideration. Questions? Councilmember Butler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First of all, I would like to thank everyone who participated in the telephone survey, the Citizens Advisory Committee, the Park Board, and the hundreds of people that provided comments on what should constitute this Parks Bond. It's obvious that we've had extensive public input through a transparent process. I believe that the recommendations reflect the priorities of our citizens And I really appreciate the fact that it also, for the input we've received from our citizens, that they're willing to fund these priorities and support it financially. There's one thing that we heard a lot about tonight that is not on here, and that's going to be addressed in the next agenda bill that we will be discussing. So I would just ask for those that have a strong interest in a skateboard park, just bear with us this evening, and I think eventually we will get there. But I support the recommended list of projects, and I believe that our citizens will support those projects also when it goes to the ballot, if that's the will of the council this evening.
Questions, discussion, Councilmember Barber?
There was from the, and this is directed to Ann and perhaps your staff, and you probably have the information right there for us, Ann. I know from what Council Services and Safety reviewed, and the list that we sort of sent forward has changed, and there's been some discussion in regards to the change of that. Can you sort of address that, maybe walk us through the process from the Citizens Advisory Committee and how they reached the presentation we have in front of us for the items to be funded?
Yes, thank you, Council Member Barber. On our first list, we had listed a skateboard park because it has been a council goal since 2010. And we had listed sports lighting down at Tibbetts Valley Park. After listening to input and reading the input from the web, our Citizens Advisory Committee and our Park Board Committee revised that list and came up with the recommendation that you see tonight. We had also were waiting to hear from our bond attorney on what the bond attorney fees would be, the bond issuance fees. And so you see that as a new listing tonight.
Other questions? Councilmember Winterstein.
Thank you. And while you're there, do you have, so some of these line items are new. We've had the opportunity in the past, both at a Services and Safety Committee meeting and at a Committee of the Whole work session, to discuss some of these items at length. So the new ones here, that I know very little about, are the first one is the Central Park pad. I want to say, I should know this off the top of my head, of course, pad 1, artificial turf, sport lighting. So that's a big ticket item, much bigger than anything else that was there previously. So I'd like to get, so that's just the first of two. I'll just tee them up for you both right away. And then the second one is Confluence Park Phase 2. Now Confluence Park is a real favorite of mine personally. I was actively involved when this council did approve the master site plan. I was somewhat familiar with the multiple phases involved. And so I'd like to hear what's envisioned for Phase 2 and how consistent that is with our master site plan as well. And I may have some more questions as we go along here.
Okay.
So thank you.
On Central Park Pad 1 with the turf and the lights, what we heard during the public input process is that we had a lot of turnout from the soccer group, not so much lacrosse, but soccer, football, and baseball. Little League came out. Lots of Little League input. And you recall before we had the Pad 4, the one that has the view of Bellevue, that we were just going to place some grass there and just sort of have it as a viewing place. Well, these folks came out and said, you know, that's really nice, but what we could really use is some more artificial turf field and sports light. That's what we could really use. And so our group, again, listened to that, took that into consideration and said, you know, we'll deal with Pad 4 later. Let's go with what people are really asking us for. On Confluence Park Phase 2, that one really took us by surprise. But in looking at it more carefully, it really resonates with this chart. I don't know if you can see it, Paul, but it sort of fits everything because part of it is improving walking and hiking trails. People wanted access to the creek. They want to be able to see it. And so it made sense. I also think the reason it's resonating is that people are walking or driving by Confluence Park as it's being built, and they're seeing it and they're really excited about it. And so that what they're saying is, we want more of that. We don't want to wait 10 or 15 years to finish that park. We want to keep going with it. In our phase 2, we have the pedestrian bridge going across the creek, so that when you're in the part where the picnic shelter is, and you're down at the actual confluence of the main stem and the East Fork, that you would get across to the other side, back there, what we call Issaquah Creek Park, so that people can connect to those two pieces. We would have more walking paths, we would have more botanical plantings. And so I think that's what's happening, is that people are seeing that and saying, I want more access to that park. And so that's, again, what we listened to, what we heard. So our Citizens Advisory Committee, 18 people heard that. Our Citizens Advisory Committee had 5 park board members on that. They heard that. And so that's how that list became revised.
So if I may continue.
Yes, certainly.
So my recollection of, so Confluence Park, I mean, I think that's an exciting development. And I think that that's a critical part of our future here in Issaquah, and seeing that vision complete is, I'm very interested in that. But my recollection may be wrong, and I reviewed some of the material before coming down here about the actual bridge, and it was an arc that connected the parcel where the park's maintenance facility is currently south of the East Fork, in an arc, a bridge. So you're nodding your head. So now, so that was that whole bridge was a later phase, which included the relocation of the park's maintenance facility.
Right. One of the things that we want to look at, Paul, when we're working with our landscape architect group, one of the bridges that they had proposed, I'll just say it was a little out of our price range. We weren't real comfortable with what they had proposed. Some of the bridges that we like are the ones that the National Parks uses and the U.S. Forest Department uses. They're not arced. You might have been out hiking and seen them. And so when they had proposed that to us and they gave us that price tag, we were a bit uncomfortable with that, and we did not think that that would go over well with our city council, and we told them that. And so we said we would like a bridge that's a little more reasonably priced, and in fact we know people at the national parks and the U.S. Forest Service, and we know how to get bridges that are more reasonably priced and that will last 50 to 75 years. So we're not married to that arced bridge. We want a pedestrian bridge, but not necessarily that one at the price that they had quoted us.
So, if I may, so again, okay, so I understand that.
Okay.
So now the goal of the bridge in your plan is just to cross the main stem from east to west.
Yes, we're just trying to get across the creek.
So
we don't necessarily have to arc the whole confluence.
So I might need some guidance here from more veterans here in the city. So that's a different vision from what was in the master plan.
It's slightly, and remember, a master plan is a concept plan, and so you are able to tweak it. And so we're just trying to get across the creek.
So is this tweak we're going to do effectively what was in the original plan, but maybe in multiple phases? It may not be an arc, it may be a different material, different design, more...
Well, he never actually gave us, all he gave us was the concept of a curved bridge. That's all he gave us. And then when he gave us the price tag, that's when we said, we just don't think that's going to work in our city.
So does this represent a change? So just if you just comment, how does it relate? So the master plan had both the main stem and the East Fork crossed.
Yes, it curved around, and we should be able to bring it up here somewhere on the website.
So I'm just trying to understand your vision for what, as you're describing this phase 2 would be. Is it for the same objectives? Or is
Would you like us to bring the site plan up, Paul?
I've got a perfect image in my own mind. I'm trying to get a sense of what this means to the master plan had an objective of bridging both the main stem and East Fork.
Right, and
This-
we're still trying to just get people across the creek to the other side, to the Issaquah Creek Park, but just not at the price tag that they originally quoted us. So we'd have to go back and work with them on that.
So, I'm not sure I'm getting what I'm looking for. There was multiple phases identified. As you envision this phase 2, is it go as far as the master plan envisioned?
On this phase, Paul, we think we can get a bridge across the creek without having to remove the park facilities immediately, if that's what you're asking.
Well, okay, so maybe that's another way of asking it. What would be left
What would be left on phase
to do after this phase as
after this
envisioned?
phase would be the removal of the park facilities. And in the park facilities section, if you remember, that's the more active portion of the park. I believe they had like a beach volleyball area. They had a more active play area. They had parking, more parking that was towards the street more, obviously not down by the creek, but it was a much more active park.
Okay, so so wasn't there originally 4 phases envisioned?
I believe there was 3.
Okay, so the vision. Okay, so the vision for this work is, basically 2/3 of the original master site plan.
Yes, and as we've talked about on estimates, is that we put this down here. We will know exactly when we go out to bid. But on working with the Berger Partnership with Guy Michelson and Andy Mitten, we believe we can accomplish a lot of this for $900,000. We've accomplished a lot in the first phase at $1 million. And so, but again, what we have to work with, Paul, is their vision of a bridge and what we believe that this community would tolerate on the price tag of a pedestrian bridge.
Okay, so if I may then just circle back to my first question about the Central Park Pad 1 artificial turf and sport lighting. So that's so that's really all I have. I have one line that describes what roughly would be, we think is going to cost $1.55 million. Could you, I feel I need more information about what's entailed in that line item. And also, again, I'm open to guidance from others as well. I mean, that this isn't a project. This is like a list of things that we would put on a ballot issue for the voters to decide. And obviously, we'd have to describe this, and they'd have to have a good idea of what they would be voting for or not voting for, whichever would be the way. I'm hoping, of course, everybody would support it. So how do you have to have these price breakdowns here like this on a per project basis and something like this?
No.
And what would be what's envisioned? I mean, I can read this again: artificial turf and lighting.
Right.
One of the things that's a big number, and what's it made up of?
That we did on our last one, and I'm going to ask Wayne Tanaka to help me. When you go into the voters booth, Paul, and in the voters pamphlet, it's very general. It just will say, do you want to approve a $10 million bond for park improvements, acquisition of park land, and improvements at Julius Bone Pool? It doesn't get very specific at all. It's practically just one paragraph with 3 or 4 sentences. Then the city is allowed to put out an informational only brochure. And in that brochure, you can break these things down. You can use some pictures, but it has to be informational only. But again, it's usually kept very, very brief, because we find that if you go into too much detail, you tend to lose people. Then if there's a citizens committee formed, that's the Yes Committee, they can go into a lot of details. They can go into glossy photographs, those kinds of things. The city cannot do that. They cannot lobby. And so last time, those 3 things are exactly what happened. And so on the last time, for instance, when we put down, improvements at Veterans Memorial Playground, at that point, when we put that out in our informational brochure, we didn't know exactly which playground pieces of equipment we were going to purchase. We hadn't gone out to bid. We hadn't held open houses to see which kind of pieces of playground equipment that parents wanted. We just said we were going to spend $67,000 of park bond money. So we hadn't reached that level of detail yet. And that's what you put out to your voters.
Thank you.
Councilmember Faulkner.
I'm kind of concerned on the Phase 2 for Confluence Park. The Confluence Park Phase 1 notice of decision specifically says Phase 2 is something different than what we're calling Phase 2 here. I'm not concerned about doing what we're doing at Confluence Park, but calling it Phase 2 when it's not the same as what Phase 2 actually was put in the notice of decision concerns me.
Okay.
Because people that remember what that was are looking for that, and that's not what they're getting with the park bond recommendation.
Okay.
Is there some way we can take the Phase 2 and make it just other improvements or something so that
we can,
or change it so that we're actually doing the Phase 2 work?
We can call it next phase, Confluence Park, additional improvements. We can word it appropriately. Carrie Ritland has often used the phrase Phase 2 for creek restoration. And
that's what the notice of decision is talking about.
Yes.
So people that have followed this closely would say, well, Phase 2 means we're going to get the creek restored, and then there's talk of bridges, and that's not. So in fairness to the voters, we want to make sure that they understand
exactly what they're getting.
what they're going for. Yes.
We can do that, Joe.
Thanks.
Councilmember Rudman.
Thank you. So we'll just continue with the Confluence Park theme. Yes. So Councilmember Winterstein asked, or I think you mentioned maybe the question to be asked was what would be left to do, and you, I think the response was removal of the park of the facilities for the more active areas. And if I look in the Q&A here, frequently asked questions, the Phase 2 that's in here does not say anything about creek restoration.
That's because Carrie Ritland is working on creek restoration right now.
Okay, so that wouldn't be part of Phase 2 or a future or a left to do. That's something that's being done right now.
He's starting it right now. Creek restoration will probably be an ongoing project, Stacy, where he applies for the Salmon Recovery Board grants. I believe those are an every other year grant also. And so he gets, when he receives the funding, he does certain sections of the creek where he gets money to remove invasives, remove the riprap, and he can move along as he goes along on the creek. So it's a continual process as he obtains grant money.
Okay. So my concern would be similar to Joe's. It sort of looked like in the wording of the phasing that there was going to be a big creek restoration project, part of a phase. That, so you're not telling me something's missing. We're not going to do some of the creek restoration.
No, we are doing the creek restoration, and like I said, Carrie is working on that right now.
Okay. Then we heard a comment about the bulkhead at the pool.
Yes.
Can you explain that, because I'm not familiar with that.
I'm going to have Jen help me with that, but it's been frozen in place now for since 1999, and I think we tried to move it one time and it sort of got stuck, and so we just got it back in place and left it there. Is there anything to add to that, Jen?
Not really, unless you have a real specific question.
Is there, and I don't know, but it sounded like there were some efficiencies that we could have if we fix that. Is there a way to fix it, or it's just...
The current bulkhead is not fixable. It would need to be replaced. We've tried to fix it, tried lots of different things. It's very old. It's original. It is basically rusted and stuck.
Do we know what it would cost to fix it, replace it?
To replace it, the most expensive piece of it is removal, the labor required to get it out of the facility. You can purchase a new bulkhead for right around $100,000. But you add on to that the labor that it's entailed of disposing of the existing bulkhead, and the price tag goes up to close to $200,000.
Okay. Which doesn't seem seem like a lot in a $5 million improvement, but upgrades.
Councilmember Martz?
So it doesn't surprise me that council members Winterstein and Goodman are asked the most questions because they're two of the three members of Services and Safety. I have a process question, which is this bill is coming to us for action this evening. And so just wondering two numbers. One is, what's the value of pieces of this bond that we have not seen before? And then what would be the cost if we didn't, my understanding is we're looking at passing it this evening because that's the timing that would be required for a November ballot. So what's the value of sort of things that are new here to services versus the cost to, if we had to move the bond to next available date?
Okay, well, I'm going to ask Tina to make sure I'm saying this correctly, but my understanding is that the cost of a King County election is $30,000, no matter what that you put on it. And so this November, we have an election because we have council and mayor. And so if you decide to postpone till next February or next April, and you have something else, like Klahani, it will cost us $30,000. So it doesn't matter what you do, it's $30,000. It's that's my understanding of it. So is that correct, Tina?
Wait, the microphone here. Yeah, it's an estimate, but that's correct. But if you put it in this election, you're already paying for this election. And if you wait and do it early, 2014, you'd be paying for that election that you wouldn't normally have budgeted.
So the opportunity cost is approximately $30,000. And what's the value of new line items here?
What's the value of new line items?
The dollar value out of the $10 million. Okay, so I'm off the pain meds, but I'm pretty sure that the total is $2,450,000.
Oh, I see what you're asking. Since the last list, you're asking about.
Correct. That services has not seen previously.
Okay, I have not done that math, Tola.
Sorry,
I just know that we added the Central Park Pad 1, the turf and lights, took away Pad 4. We added Confluence, and we took away sport lights at Tibbetts. And at the time previously, we did not have the bond and attorney fees.
Right. But the two line items that are new represent about $2.5 million.
Yes.
Okay. Because it's not clear to me that spending $30K to sort of measure twice and cut once on $2.5 million is necessarily a bad idea. Luckily enough, I've actually been able to be involved in school district bonds, and we actually moved the last bond, which we passed with 73%. We actually moved that to a different date for a variety of sort of arcane reasons, but it didn't actually have a negative impact on the performance on the bond.
Okay.
Councilmember Winterstein?
Thank you. I guess this might be a question for Tina. I'm going to follow up that cost question. So just for us to run elections for mayor and council, that's $30,000 to the city, even to do it in November. And so if we had multiple items on a later one, say next April, if you have one item or two items, is it still one price?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
The only other additional cost, it's not entirely free, because if you want to include a line in the voters pamphlet, local voters pamphlet, I believe you have to pay extra for that, depending on the number of issues that you have. That's a very minor cost, though.
Okay.
Councilmember Scher, followed by Councilmember Barber.
Sure. I don't have any questions, but I wanted to share a few comments as part of this discussion. So I gave some thought to what this proposal entails, and this is a $10 million bond with approximately $60 a month in property taxes for the owner of a $420,000 house. I guess that amount goes down if we add 11,000 more residents, but it's still not an insignificant cost to families in the city. So In terms of background, I looked at the 2006 bond, which was about $6 million and change. And I found out that that was the first park bond that had come before Issaquah voters in nearly 20 years. The previous one was $600,000 and was used to purchase Tibbetts Creek Manor. The 2006 bond won't even mature until 2026, according to the budget, so we're still paying for that one. And now, just 7 years later, in my opinion, we're looking at rushing forward with a patchwork of projects that we want to have. So I looked at some of these projects, and I just wanted to share some of my thoughts on them. First, Central Park. We've already put $140,000 into drainage for Pad 1, and now the proposal that's before us is to change course after spending those public funds. Additionally, and perhaps more importantly, a future council will have to deal with over $1 million for the existing turf field on the other pad. We're now 4 years into a 12 to 15 year maximum lifespan on that turf field, and we still have had no replacement funding set aside. We've been talking about it since 2009. Now, we would have another turf field, so double the end-of-life cost that we still haven't planned for. The short-term gain is nice, but the long-term financial outlook of just adding turf fields without a financial replacement plan is worrisome to me. Secondly, Confluence Park. According to the city's website, and I'll quote directly from it, quote, the second phase will cost about $1 million, which will be covered by city funds as well as grants from the King County Conservation District and Washington State Recreation and Conservation Office Salmon Recovery Funding Board, end quote. Now it's being proposed to increase property taxes for the completion of this phase instead. To me, this item seems like an unnecessary throw-in for the purposes of a bond. Third, the pool that we've heard a lot about tonight. We have a number of potential funding partners and a wide array of users. In May 2009, this council authorized unanimously, 7-0, 2 facilities alternatives to be added to our capital improvement plan. They were called options B+ and C, and to pursue regional and private funding options for these major improvements, which included a new aquatic center with an 8-lane pool and a leisure pool. Apparently, that unanimous direction is no longer applicable. I would also note that support from the Issaquah Soccer Club in the amount of $100,000 was instrumental in getting the first turf field off the ground, but this bond package asks Issaquah taxpayers to shoulder the cost alone. Not to mention, it's irrelevant whether they use that facility or not. Now, my family uses the pool, and it's clearly, as we've heard tonight, a vital resource to the community, beyond just the Issaquah community, even outside the taxing district of the city boundaries. If this were a bond just for the pool and an increased capacity at the pool, and we had other funding support for capital, maintenance, and/or operations, I would be far more supportive. Fourth, I'm glad to see we have a separate bill that we're about to talk about for skate park consideration. I believe that a project which would combine a skate park with other recreational activities would lead to a larger, better package. Imagine a place where families could have a picnic and youth could play basketball, ride their bikes, and even use their skateboards. In sum, and I want to especially emphasize this point, I don't take issue with improving our parks and our park facilities. Not at all. But this proposed measure feels like buying a bunch of cool stuff from your Amazon wish list just to get the free shipping. Looking at items such as green space acquisition, Tibbetts Valley drainage for increased playability, and new playground equipment, all of these items, plus the others I've mentioned and discussed in this bond proposal, are worthwhile on their own, and they should be accomplished at the right times. The way this bond is presented as a combined package, I would contend that we could do something different and something better. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Barber.
Thank you. I think we've heard from a number of citizens this evening speaking out, and there's been a fairly lengthy process in regards to getting us to this point. And I guess there's always the concern, I mean, we've had the goal in a year ago, not this year's goal, but a year ago's goal to do something about this pool. And even prior to that, when I was still on the Parks board, we were still looking and studying and researching the pool. We had a consultant that came in and gave us a very lengthy outline of different possibilities of what we could do with our pool to improve our pool. Everything from what we're looking at now would be to fix what we have, keep it running, keeping it going. I mean, we've heard from Parks Maintenance the condition that that pool's in and the Mickey Mousing that we're going through just to keep it operating, and all the way up to $45 million pool presentation with 2 new pools and all the bells and whistles and so on. And we're still here, and that's over 8 years ago, and we still have not done anything to this pool. And we can talk about all the different other elements that are before us this evening on this park bond. Artificial turf, we have been through that as far as service and safety, I think, and the full council. We understand what is involved in regards to artificial turf, so that's really not a new element. Replacement of the playground equipment at Muirwood and Gibson Park is extremely old equipment and really truly needs to be taken care of. The idea for me to delay this any longer is not something I would like to see happen. I know that this facility that we have as far as the swimming pool is in desperate need of help. It needs to be relined. We need new boilers. We've seen great pictures in regards to the boilers, the rust that's in there. If we delay and we don't act on this, my fear is that we will be back here again in 2-3 years and still not doing anything in regards to this particular facility. The idea of sending it back to services and safety, I'm not sure I see the value of that. There are a few changes. Some of the changes are to take the park's skate park, from what we were presented at Services and Safety as Exhibit C, were 2 skate parks. So those have been removed, and we are looking at the funding for that. We're not saying, no, we're not going to take care of this, and we're not going to do anything in regards to skate parks. So those 2 dollar amounts can be removed and placed something else that is of value. We're looking at the other 3 pieces that were in there, talking about installing playground at the Central Park and picnic shelters and the bleachers. And we've heard from those people that are actually using those facilities saying, we would rather see the artificial turf now. It's important now to get the kids on the field, lacrosse, soccer, baseball, whatever those activities are. This is invaluable for our youth right now to be out there playing and getting their exercise. We can have great picnic tables and bleachers perhaps at another time. So the removal of those 2 items and the replacement of those on the list we have before us this evening, I think what we have before us that went through Parks Board, that went through the Citizens Advisory, that went through the telephone input. We have information from our citizens that they believe this is the correct list, and they are excited and desiring us to move forward with this. We can send it back to Council, Services and Safety again. I'm not sure what we would gain from that. The only thing we would do, in my opinion, would be to delay this. It would not be able to be going on the November ballot, and it would be sending us off. We can send it off, but we've got enthusiasm. We heard an hour and 15 minutes worth of testimony this evening. Majority of them supporting the pool and the skateboard, and those that are addressing us as also there was some talking about just green space. So I hope tonight that we don't delay this any longer. I don't see the extreme value in sending it back to Services and Safety Committee. So my last, hopefully we will not be delaying this, that we will be moving forward with this and putting it on the November election. Thank you.
Other comments or questions? Councilmember Mertz.
Yeah, I just want to, Josh asked some good questions, but again, having done some bond work previously, there was a question about why not go with a larger bond and look at I guess the B+ option and the what was it, B plus? Sorry, I got to go back and look at my notes. And the, C. And the reason is we were presented here poll, the same, part of the same poll that Ann referred to in priorities in the community was a poll on the possibility of looking at a citywide activity versus encompassing the entire school district. So we looked at a $21 million measure that would encompass the entire school district to see if the community outside the city of Issaquah felt as passionately about a pool as the city did, and unfortunately they did not. So the numbers for a $21 million measure for the entire school district was 63%. Those numbers, you start at whatever your best number is going to be, and as you progress on a measure, support, if it moves down. And in this state, we need 60% plus one. Actually, no, sorry, 60% to achieve a bond. Whereas a $10 million measure in the city of Issaquah gets 76%, which is a very healthy number. That's like school district style numbers. So this is why I can't speak for the administration, but it's why I personally, I would love to see a big, beautiful pool. Where I moved from in Minnesota, we had a big, beautiful pool. Of course, we had 6 months of winter, but I just can't. Looking at those polls that we saw last year on the community, it's just the larger district outside the city would not support this sort of a bond, which is why we can't do it. Thank you.
Other questions or discussion? I'm going
And just
call.
quick,
I was going to call on Councilmember Butler first and give him an opportunity to speak,
Definitely.
and then I'll call on you.
So, let me turn my mic on. So, is this the right package? I spent most of Sunday afternoon going through 104 pages of comments that are a part of the agenda bill. And there are a couple of things that really cry out in here that I think are reflective of what is important to the community. Active recreation play fields that can be used more efficiently and can be used year-round. The Julius Bohm Pool that is such a treasure and needs attention. Yep, I guess we could wait for the perfect package to take to the voters, but it's always going to be a moving target in a way, and it has been a little bit of a moving target during the time that we have considered the various projects that are on the list itself. I believe that we need to make a decision and support our citizens who are strongly supportive of, a bond to fund the things that are important to them. And in my mind, the time to act is now, rather than wait and try to get the perfect package if we can nail that down. And so I still support moving forward on the bond package at this time with the list of projects that are submitted.
Other questions or comments? Councilmember Barber, did you have a remark?
Councilmember Butler said most of them, but just one other quick comment in regards to Councilmember Marks. Another piece that I think is really important, I mean, I would love to have a brand new, $20-some million pool also, and that doesn't mean that we can't in the future, but we need to get this pool back operating. But there was also the piece from EMC Research that they test the waters as to what the tolerance for the dollar amount that any household is going to or voter is going to vote yes for. And the concern is if we push for a greater pool, if we're going to add double lanes to it, which was one of the projects many years ago, we're pushing ourselves past the tolerance level for the voters. And I really would like to see this pass, and I'd like to see the pool get fixed. So, thank you.
Other questions or discussion from the council? Councilmember Goodman.
So I'm going to support moving this forward, and the reason I'm going to support it is because I guess I'm not looking for a perfect list, because you could go out any day of the week and gather opinions and find a a list that's just as perfect or imperfect. I'm going to support it because I believe we do need to make the improvements at the pool. It is a critical need. I agree with all the comments about would love to have a brand new multi-million-dollar facility. That's not probably appropriate for this bond. I would, if it was my choice, have the bulkhead issue looked at, because if you're looking at $5 million, I don't know that an estimated $200 million or $200,000 is a huge piece of that, and it seems like if we're looking at efficiencies, that might be something to look at. Central Park Pad 1, the artificial turf, to me that's a good expenditure of monies because we get additional use out of those fields, and that's the reason that we change out the grass from the artificial turf. As far as the long-term financial capital planning for replacing those, I believe that's on our docket to talk about and to finally create that plan. So I think we will have that in place fairly soon. I'm excited about Confluence Park, whatever we're calling the next improvements. And I think the other part that's really exciting for me is the green necklace, and I was glad to see that that stayed on the list. To me, that could make the biggest long-term difference in our community, and it's also monies that we can leverage. And so I just think that that's a great thing. I'm excited about that. I thought there was something else I had to mention. Maybe that's it, but I will be supportive. Oh, I wanted to thank you for all of the community input and the Citizens Advisory Committee. We asked you to go out and get as much input as you could, and you really did a great job. Thank you.
Other questions? Councilmember Winterstein.
All right. Thank you. The aquatic study was done, really painted some really nice vision, and I think perhaps like many others within Issaquah, it painted a vision of what we want to be, and that a nicer, larger facility, maybe with more natural light coming in. I can imagine all kinds of things. And when we first considered this, when we first got the results of the survey, and the numbers, as Councilmember Martz reminded us, suggested that we'd more likely going to have success with something which is take the existing footprint and make it as best as it can be. And that's my understanding of what our goal is, or the goal would be as currently described in here. As Councilmember Barber outlined as well. So I wish we could have something bigger there. But I've made peace with that same fact that with this $5 million, we can do something wonderful in place right there. It's not as much as I think our community could sustain and would sustain if given a chance, but I have to also defer to those same numbers that suggest this is very likely to pass. So I like that idea of making it world-class in place, and that's what I think we would be striving for. I'm also happy that the amount for the open space. So the original proposal had that $2 million for open space, and seeing that in there. So there was that balance of $3 million that we asked that a citizen advisory committee be formed, and I'm very grateful for everybody's put in that time. I've seen these results. We weren't able to attend on June 17th. I think we had a conflict, a council event that was really unfortunate. And so and I look at this, and I'm going to make a similar kind of comment that perfection really isn't the goal in terms of the list. There are some big ticket items, and I have a kind of a standard for myself as an elected official, is that if somebody comes to me and said, "Why did you support that? What are we going to get for that?" I really like to have answers, and I still have some uncertainty about Confluence Park. That makes me uncomfortable. And I really appreciate the way Councilmember Faulkner framed it. He did a much better job than I did in terms of like what was the original, when we said phase 2, what's in there, and versus what we're now calling phase 2. So it's going to be very critical to me that we really clean up that language and make that very clear. The master plan is very ambitious, and it was phased. Okay, maybe those phases aren't it. Maybe it's something else. But we need to, I think, still the vision for that. We need to see what's envisioned. Should this go forward? Should it pass? Should we allocate this roughly amount of money to do something at Confluent Park? We need to see how that fits within the master plan, and I think seeing that sooner rather than later is very critical. And I guess whenever I see something that says over 1.5 million, and this is kind of the line item, I just prefer to have more information in front of me. I have one line, and that's it. I don't have the same history that some do here on the council about what goes into that. And like my colleague to the left, Councilmember Butler, I read all of those comments. I do kind of wonder if someone could fill out that online survey more than once, because 38 of them look exactly the same to me. And another 40 or so look very similar, and they're all about, doing something on pad 1. So, boy, it's amazing the meeting of the minds of people who all want the same thing. So that's really was the line. I say all that because it was my line of questioning. Here's some new things. So what I maybe failed to do is express my excitement about the idea. I've like I said, made peace with, if we can do this and make this world-class in place, that would be fantastic. If we can preserve get some more open space that's consistent with our vision, for Issaquah, what we want to be, and consistent with the Green Necklace concept. We have a list of projects, and it's been vetted by the community, and I think that's what we asked to do. And, be careful what you ask for, because you might get it. And we got it, and I think that's fantastic. And so a little bit more information. I'll be looking for some more clarity, especially about Confluence Park going forward with this. So thank you.
Other questions or discussion? Is the council ready? Councilmember Mertz.
I'm sorry, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to say that if the 3 members of Services and Safety are comfortable not reviewing this back in committee, then I'm comfortable with that as well, so I'll be supporting this. Okay. And I, too, am very excited about this bond. I think that the city has done, and the Citizens Advisory Committee have done a very good job in putting together something that reflects the interests of the community. Thank you.
Any other questions? Is the council ready then to act upon this, which is a motion to support the allocation of a conservation finance park bond funds in the amount of $10 million and direct the administration to prepare an ordinance or resolution for setting a special election, which will also incorporate the council's priorities and preferred conservation finance park bond allocation. Mm-hmm. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, that was 6 ayes, 1 nay. Councilmember Scheer in opposition. And at the risk of saying something that's, I would not say it before that vote because I didn't want to influence people in any way or usurp the council's policymaking authority. My recollection of the Confluence Park planning process was that we recognized a certain amount of confusion because there were phases 1 of the general park and the master site plan, and then there were different phases of the habitat restoration terracing process along the East Fork of Issaquah Creek. And so I think that there are, people's memories are quite accurate, and they may be remembering different phases of different things. But it is very accurate to say that there were certain things proposed in a phase 2. And I don't know how we get around that confusion. I'm pretty sure we talked about it at the time, but the confusion lingers. But I will stop commenting at that point. Okay. The next item before the council this evening is Agenda Bill 6676, which has as its topic the relocation and enhancement of Skateboard Park. And there is an agenda bill. It talks about identifying needs for a possible park bond. It also talks about the identification of relocating and or changing Skateboard Park as a need since 2010. And it talks about some things that people have brought to the council this evening and at previous times about the current location. It describes it as detrimental to the optimal use of the park and to the skateboard community from a recreational and public safety standpoint. So this agenda bill is before the council, and I will ask the council for discussion. Councilmember Martz.
Should I move it before discussion, or do we move first?
Generally,
yes. Okay.
generally
yes.
we move them and then discuss them, right?
Good. So I would move to refer Agenda Bill 6676 to the next Council Services and Safety Committee for review and recommendation, returning to the full council on September 3rd, 2013.
Second.
Okay. Moved by Martz, seconded by Winterstein. And now discussion. Councilmember Martz.
So I want to say thank you again to the Citizen Advisory Committee. The conversation about the bond and the potential skate park have been an interleaved conversation, and so there's been effort to sort of separate the two topics, which can legitimately be considered separate. About the level of interest, you know, it's interesting. The poll that came out, or that we had about a year ago, actually showed about 35% support for a skate park. And the interesting piece of that is that's actually fairly close to the percentage of parents that are voters in the city of Issaquah. And I think that this is an issue of sort of asymmetric interest on the part of the community. I think that people that have middle school-aged kids and high school-aged kids feel this issue very keenly, and people who don't go, first of all, if you don't have kids in middle school or the high school, or you don't go to St. Michael's, you may not go down Second very often. You may not even know that there is a skate park, much less that it has room for improvement. So, but I, like Tim Baines, who spoke earlier, was at the PTSA meeting earlier this year on teen safety, and it covered a number of topics, but boy, the skate park was at the heart of the conversation among parents about what was going on near the high school. So it was very much a big deal for them. This has been a goal for a while. In 2010, we made it a 2011 goal. It was the depth of the recession, so we didn't wind up being able to do anything about it. The community did not evidence this level of enthusiasm that we saw tonight. In 2012, we actually had 2 different draft goals. We came into goal setting. And as a result of that, and as a result of the level of interest on the council, it wound up being a high priority goal for 2013. There was a conversation about location and not wanting to be hamstrung in terms of location. This bill directs the park department to seek community input as to the location of the new skate park. And I'm confident that going through that process, we will find a great location, whether it's the way Sammamish does it or not, or the way other communities do it, or whether we do it the Issaquah way, which may be different than any of those others. I want to thank, there's not many of you left at this hour who spoke on this issue. What we're deciding tonight is whether to move this bill to committee, where it will be discussed further, potentially refined further, come back to full council and discuss there too. And if you haven't been, and I'll speak to people at home as well, if you haven't been involved in this process before, it may seem somewhat anticlimactic. But this is the way that we make sure, I mentioned earlier the concept of measuring twice and cutting once. This is the way that we make sure that legislation that comes through is transparent, that large numbers of the community can come forward. If there is a concern about this in the community, if there are individuals that worry about moving the location, they'll have the ability to speak to council members after this evening, and they'll have the ability to come before the council again before the council makes a decision on this bill. And then I want to reiterate something that's been said by several people, which is that this is really only the first step in a longer journey. We really owe it to the kids of Issaquah to marshal every resource towards giving them a safe environment in which to pursue their dreams. And so this will be a step towards a day where we don't have to worry so much about the drugs that we see in our community and with our kids. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember Winterstein.
Thank you. And I recognize, yes, so the action is to move it to services and safety. This sounds kind of funny, paradoxically, but maybe the best thing that happened to the skateboard park was that it was removed from the list for the park bond.
Yeah.
Because what happened is I was very moved by many of the comments I heard tonight. Very moved. And I think it was Mr. Bain's comment about, that what we have allowed that skate park to become is in a way an expression of we as adults and caretakers of the community is what we think about the people who it's intended for. And that's not, he said it better than that. But that was very moving to me, and so we would maybe not have had the opportunity to get all of those comments. And one comment that really stuck with me, I think there was a certain executive director of high schools from the school district that said, "Hey, we're about to do some work in this area. Let's work together on this." And I tell you, that's an invite we're going to take up, I hope. But this is going to go to committee, and we get to discuss that a little bit further. So I just wanted to thank everybody who. Maybe some still here and those who were here before in those comments. It was a real treasure for the community for everybody to get active, come out and speak that way. And I'm very grateful, and I have those notes, and I'm going to remember that. Thank you.
Councilmember Goodman and then Councilmember Barber.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I have a couple of questions here. One is, in the agenda bill it says next step, the council approves. Oh, and then maybe I read it wrong. If the council approves funding, then we would do the outreach regarding location. So this is to refer to, so I just want to make sure that I know what this is for. Move to committee to approve some funding, and then the outreach starts after that. If it comes back to the full council in September and the funding is approved, that's the that's the process here. Okay, just want to make sure. And then the other question I have is, it was pretty clear when we were talking about this for a 2012 goal, and also pretty clear from what we heard tonight that we have two distinct issues. One is the skate park and relocating, or as we called it, enhancing, so that we have a facility that serves the population who wants to use it and they can actually use it. And the other problem that we have is the problems in the area that we talked about. So doing something about the skate park solves one problem, but that doesn't address the other problem that we have. So I guess I would be interested in what efforts we have going on to address the second part.
One of the other council goals, Stacy, was called Enhance Rainier Trail. So the Issaquah School District, Issaquah Parks Department, and Issaquah Police Department trying to work together to address some of the issues down there. So first I'll talk about the Parks Department. One of the things that we've been doing, we've also been picking up the trash, cutting the brush way, way back so it's easier for the police officers to see what's going on back there. Some of Barbara's group have been doing the adults walking back and forth, trying to just be an adult presence there. And when park staff, they go out every single day, when they see things like the couch in the back of the truck, they call the police more often. And so that's what we're trying to do is work closely together of when we see things, we report them. One of the things that was mentioned tonight is our school resource officer, Karen, one of the things that has occurred is that some of the kids back there, they have a real system down for alerting one another that adults are coming. And so it's a much more complex issue, as I think Paul mentioned, that there's a whole different culture going on back there, and it's how do you reach out to some kids that are really, really troubled and really need some help. And so it's more than a matter of policing. Some of these kids are throwaway kids. They've been forgotten. They're not having parental interest in their lives. So it's a very, very complex issue that we tend to react to. But those are some things that we're doing on the trail to try to make it feel safer. Many of us in the Parks Department use the trail a lot during the day. We use it at lunchtime, and we feel safe. We're not always using it, of course, in the evening. So those are the things that we're coordinating together between the three different groups.
So when the council had its annual meeting with the school board a few months ago, there was the mutual interest in that and sort of I wasn't able to attend, but from what I understand, mutual interest and mutual commitment, I think, to address that. So what progress have we made specifically with regard to the school district? Are we meeting regularly?
Well, Karen Y., our school resource officer, she meets daily with their security person. I'm trying to remember his first name. And so she's up there every single day. So it's an ongoing relationship. It's an ongoing relationship with the principal and vice principal. As they mentioned, they're down there. So there's a lot of adult presence from school leaders, on the trail. When kids are skipping, they know right where to go to find them. And so there's that sort of coordination about where to go to find kids when they're missing from school. So there's progress, but it's like an ongoing management of problems that have really started in children's lives a long time ago, and it's manifests itself out on the trail that's actually south of the skate park is where a lot of the situation is occurring.
Thanks.
Other questions? Questions or comments? Is the council ready then to act upon this motion to refer to committee with a time to bring it back to the entire council? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? That passed unanimously. The next item on the agenda this evening is the one entitled Good of the Order, and this is an opportunity for the council to again address things that may be regional in nature or any other items that the council feels need to be brought before the council. Yes, Councilmember Butler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I've got a question for the city administrator. I believe our lobbyist is sort of under your purview, although he works for all of us and our citizens. I think I saw a report that emphasized what's in it for Issaquah in the budget that the Washington State Legislature just passed. Could you provide a brief summary of that?
Sure. Be happy to. So the great news is that $5 million is included for the North Issaquah LID. That was proposed by Governor Gregoire before she left and was very well supported by Senator Mullet and Magendas as we went through that eventual process. And that was included in the final budget, capital budget. The second item related to Lake Sammamish, and were you, Councilmember Barber or Goodman, going to report on that this evening?
I can do it if you'd like.
Sure.
Good news, as you just said. We received $2.984 million for Lake Sammamish State Park bathhouse, picnic shelters, and the concession stand, which is going to be wonderful. And the second one for another $851,000 for Lake Sammamish for other grants, and I think part of those are for some beach restoration. So those are the great dollars coming forward for Lake Sammamish, and lots of improvements that we've been working hard and long on. So good news.
Well, thank you both for that report.
Sure. I was just going to add, we did put a lot of effort, all of the council members and our lobbyists, on the transportation improvement package. We worked very, very hard on that, as well as our local representatives who worked on that. And unfortunately, the legislature decided not to approve a transportation package at all. So even though there isn't an outcome, it certainly didn't reflect the effort that we put into that project.
Councilmember Barber.
I have one more for the good of the order from Eastside Fire and Rescue. As we all know, July 4th is coming really fast. And we also know that there is a total ban of fireworks within the city limits of Issaquah, so a reminder for everyone. But also Eastside Fire and Rescue have what they call their fireworks patrol plan. And so they are literally in their rigs out in our community, making sure that everyone is staying safe. We want to keep our youth safe, and we don't want to have any fires in our community over the the holiday, why we're celebrating the independence. So they will be out there answering questions, just being active within our city and patrolling some of our streets, and hopefully helping everyone celebrate a great 4th of July and keeping us all safe.
Thank you. Any other items for good of the order? If not, we are adjourned at 9:45 p.m.
Hey, Roland, what are you limping for?
I turned 2.
That's what I told you before the meeting.